A series of storms hitting the nation's midsection claimed at least one life and changed many more as it moved through. We'll take a closer look at the damage it caused in Iowa later in this weather center. But for now, the system has moved into the east, and with it, the severe weather threat. It now centers around some very populated areas. Hello and welcome to this edition of Weather Center, brought to you by MCI WorldCom. I'm Arch Kennedy.
And I'm Carl Parker. Thunderstorm watch boxes have been popping up all along the East Coast this evening in anticipation of severe weather sweeping through the region. Let's show you what we're talking about. We have the system that has been causing severe weather for the last couple of days, now moving right along the East Coast, the active weather ahead of that cold front, and there's a line of very intense storms now extending all the way from New York right on down through Virginia and North Carolina. We still do have severe thunderstorm watches in effect, and that includes some of the major metro areas in the east, New York and Philly. And in fact, we are seeing those storms moving into those areas as we speak, and they have already produced quite a bit in the way of severe weather. Our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, has been following the situation for the last couple of days. And Greg, these storms have moved into some major metro areas, Baltimore and D.C. earlier, now right on top of Philly, and moving towards New York.
Yes, indeed, and they're very dangerous at this very time. They've moved into an area that has more southeast winds than earlier southwest winds. That means the storms are getting a source of rotation, and they're showing it. Here's where we can see that using the Doppler radar. This particular thunderstorm up here at the very end of the loop, you'll see the whole line of thunderstorms has gone into a big swirl. And up at the north end of that line, that bow echo, the head of that bow echo is rotating, and that's indicated by Doppler radar. The National Weather Service has issued tornado warnings for central Sussex County and Morris County in northern parts of New Jersey. That storm is coming right down eastward on I-80 in toward the northwestern part of the New York metropolitan area. Elsewhere, large thunderstorms coming into the metropolitan Philadelphia area, into the southwestern parts of New York City, and over into Delaware. Let's take a look at the Philadelphia radar here in zoom-in mode. You can see this line of thunderstorms. Look at this very large area of red coming in. That's a bow-shaped echo. Possibility of hail, of course, torrential rains, some damaging winds there coming into the western parts of the Philadelphia area right now. We'll continue to keep you posted. The storms are just beginning to creep into the southwestern portion of the metropolitan New York City area. They aren't quite showing up on the metro radar yet, but they will be over the next half hour. So in New York City, you have dangerous thunderstorms headed your way. Be on the lookout for them in the next half hour to an hour. We'll keep you posted. Carl's back in the studio with more.
Severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes, thanks very much. Let's go ahead and give you a recap of the situation. We do have storms moving out of the Baltimore and D.C. area right now, but boy, very, very active weather this afternoon. You actually had 2 rounds of storms in Baltimore, some isolated storms ahead of this line. Then the line itself moved right through downtown, big storms through downtown D.C., and then just outside of D.C., near the Beltway at Andrews Air Force Base, a 115-mile-an-hour gust was reported. That is an awful lot of wind, and that kind of thing has been repeated many times up and down the East Coast here. Again, those great big storms are moving into Philly as we speak. We do have a close-up for you in just a moment. And notice the tremendous storms here moving through New Jersey. And again, there's a swirl here that indicates rotation. We do now have tornado warnings in effect for Sussex and Morris counties in northern parts of New Jersey. And there's no reason to believe that this tornado won't continue to be a problem as we go along towards the east here. So if you live in the greater New York City area, you need to watch this situation very, very carefully. Again, tornado warnings in effect in Morris and Sussex counties, and we have very strong storms to the south here moving into the Philadelphia area as we speak. Ahead of this area of storms, this is where you're going to find the wind coming out from the bottom of the storm, rushing ahead of that area of very, very heavy rain right there. Then we could be talking about, again, incredibly heavy rain, and then a lot of hail too. All of those are possibilities as we go through the next half an hour to an hour here in the greater Philly area. So you really do need to be careful and watch the situation carefully. Get inside your house, close your windows, stay away from your windows, and get to the lowest interior floor of your house. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening a little farther northward here. We have colder air in place in the northeast, and as a result, a lot of these storms are beginning to peter out. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're completely out of gas. They're still producing a lot of very, very heavy rain, and we could see hail dropping from some of these storms as they finally begin to release what's left of all of their energy. Still, we're watching for very heavy rain farther westward, too, in parts of New York State. So keep that in mind. Flash flood warnings are in effect in many areas. Warm air has been coming up and feeding into the system. There's that cooler air we've been talking about. 50 now in Boston. Pretty good chance that you won't see anything in the way of thunderstorms in Boston. Big thunderstorms are on the way in New York, though, and on top of you in Philly. And we'll continue to watch this situation. I want to take you south and eastward now. Here's more with Arch.
We have the frontal boundary moving through North and West Georgia, through the western Carolinas. And yes, there have been some severe reports down farther south as well into east central Georgia, portions of the Piedmont of North Carolina, and down around the Gulf region, around the Florida Panhandle. As we look at the satellite and radar review, you can see the line of storms developing along our frontal boundary, and we continue to see possibility of severe weather here, although we're not going to see near the intensity, the energy well north of where Carl was showing you up toward the mid-Atlantic and northeast. But we're not going to rule out the possibility of severe weather as we watch the line moving through Charlotte now, Greensboro area. The line has, some of it has been diminished in intensity. We did have a severe thunderstorm that was rumbling just to the north of Charlotte. That has been canceled, but it's still some pretty active weather here. Also up north toward Greensboro, we're looking at a pretty strong cluster of shower and thunderstorm activity there as well. Toward Atlanta, you're faring okay. You kind of dodged the bullet today in the metro area, but a line of storms developed to your east. And now for Augusta, well, be on the lookout for some gusty winds perhaps as this little line continues pushing east. And I believe we do have a severe thunderstorm warning still for Washington County and eastern sections of Georgia as that line marches east of Macon as well. Well, as we head farther to the Gulf, New Orleans, a lot of activity developed to your south and east, off into the Gulf, so no problems for you. Mobile, you're faring better. A lot of activity, again, south of Pensacola into the Gulf region. Toward South Florida, a few convective-type thunderstorms today, although nothing as near as severe as what we had farther north. But again, a lot of these dying off as the sun sets, and we shouldn't see too many problems here. As far as rainfall amounts, we're going to see around 1/10 to 1/2 inch into southwest Georgia, portions of the Florida Panhandle, and again, the bulk of the rainfall accumulation will be up toward South Carolina, or North Carolina rather. Still rather hot in Columbia now, 90 degrees. It's 84 in Jacksonville, 79 in Miami. We have 78 at Birmingham, 84 in New Orleans, 72 in Nashville, and 76 in Dallas. Now with more on the Midwest, we turn it over to Carl.
Well, in the wake of our system here, we have pretty cool air. That's part of the reason why the weather has been so active in front of this boundary. Temperatures have dropped significantly behind the boundary. We've seen a little bit of rain here, some low-level moisture, actually a little bit of snow this morning, if you can believe that, around International Falls. And look at the change in temperature here. 23 degrees colder in the Motor City, 14 degrees colder in Chicago, 13 in Minneapolis as compared to yesterday at this time. It's 48 now in Minneapolis, 52 in Chicago, and 55 in Detroit. And that cool air is on the way here in the Northeast, but it should turn out to be a pretty...
3 albums for just $19.99.
Call 1-800-213-9800 to order Body and Soul for only $19.99. Use your credit card and receive a free 3rd album, or send check or money order to the address on your screen.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Currently, the temperature is 68 degrees with light rain. Your forecast. Your extended forecast.
up. Get the forecast for the next 7 days in your weekly planner. This program is sponsored by Budget, who has a variety of great rental cars for people who like renting great cars.
Let's make the driving experience more enjoyable.
We'll rent Jaguars, town cars.
And a Grand Marquis for $49.
Oh, the cars will have leather seats, a CD player.
And aromatherapy candles.
We don't really need aromatherapy candles.
Maybe not the candles, but the enjoyable thing is good, you know?
It is time now for your weekly planner sponsored by Budget, but before we get into that, we want to get you up to date on the severe weather, and I quickly went by that. I want to show you the severe weather watches that we now do have in effect. We do have a number of severe thunderstorm watches in effect across the East Coast here, anywhere from southern parts of New York State down through New Jersey and the Delmarva, and that heavy rain and that wind. So that's something you need to keep in mind. It's just about on top of downtown New York. The leading edge of some cells here, some very heavy rain, just about ready to move into your area, again, right on top of Philadelphia. Looks like the threat is over with here in Baltimore and D.C., but we still do have strong storms across the Bay and then back down into central parts of Virginia. We take you farther south.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Currently in your area, 68 degrees with light rain. The forecast for your area. Your extended forecast.
Thunderstorms, strong winds, and some hail have befallen Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and other cities of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. This storm system now making its way into Philadelphia and is right now in the New York metropolitan area. In a minute, severe weather expert Dr. Greg Forbes gives you details on this strong system.
Earlier this week, this same storm spawned tornadoes in Black Hawk County, Iowa. We'll give you a closer look at nature's fury. Plus, we'll tell you why lack of rain may wash out July 4th fireworks in Florida. Hello and welcome to Weather Center, sponsored by Wingspan Bank. I'm Dave Schwartz.
And I'm Warren Madden. Glad you can stop in with us on this Saturday night. Thunderstorm watch boxes have been popping up all along the East Coast this evening in anticipation of severe weather sweeping through the region. Let's show you what we mean as we take a look at the current weather map. See that cold front stretching across the area? That is the same cold front that over the past 2 days brought tornadoes into northeastern Iowa. You saw pictures of that just a second ago. Then last night we had big problems into places like Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, and as far south as Texas. And tonight it's here along this front now in the northeast from New York State down through Philadelphia, eastern Pennsylvania into New Jersey, and then right through the nation's capital, reaching south into the Carolinas. Here's what we've got right now. And earlier, about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, we were seeing the strongest part of this line in New York State. That part of the line has died down now as it moves into some cooler, less unstable air. But we've really seen a big blow up now from New York City reaching down through Philadelphia in toward the nation's capital. Numerous watch boxes still in effect from New York City down through Washington, D.C., then Richmond, and on down into North Carolina. And one of the cities that is included in these watch areas, Philadelphia, where you've seen some rough weather here. The lightning crashing around. These are tower cam shots from Philadelphia just a little bit ago. And some very strong storms moving through. The Braves-Phillies game rain delayed because of these storms. Our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, has been following the situation over the last several days. We have still some potent storms out there. Let's get the latest details now from Dr. Greg Forbes.
Yes, indeed, there are still very strong storms out there now. Fortunately, they've mainly passed through the Philadelphia area, the Wilmington, Delaware area, a while back past Washington and Baltimore. They are, though, still heading toward the New York City area, but as they do, they're weakening somewhat. When these storms formed, they had temperatures in the 80s. Now they're moving into temperatures that are in the 60s, so they're gradually weakening, still capable of producing dime-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. Over the past 2 hours, we'll see what's happened to those storms. Still one circulation. It's not an individual thunderstorm rotating, but a circulation embedded in the line, a bow echo type thing. The northern end of it still has a little bit of a circulation. That whole line, as it pushes east, is surging into the New York City area from the west, and so there is still a threat of winds there, strong winds up to 60 miles per hour. The line is past Philadelphia, coming across New Jersey. Many of the counties in New Jersey are under warning, and still a strong line coming across Delaware. Let's take a look at some zoom-ins here. You'll see this line of thunderstorms pass through the Philadelphia area and is now going over into the area as passed through Marlton in Virginia. We'll take in New Jersey, I should say. We'll take a look up in the New York City metropolitan area. The cluster of storms now coming into the New York City metropolitan area. Brooklyn, Queens, and Manhattan are under severe thunderstorm warnings at this time because of this line of thunderstorms, possibly producing dime-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds as it comes into the region. We'll continue to keep you posted as these storms head toward the East Coast. Warren is back in the studio with more on the weather.
All right, thanks very much, Dr. Greg Forbes, severe weather expert here at the Weather Channel. Wanted to run you down the line again to show you a few features of what's going on. As I mentioned, things have calmed down here in terms of the severe weather into New York State, upstate New York State, up the thruway here into the Hudson River Valley. Not nearly as much in the way of the bright oranges and reds, but as we drop down into New York City, again, severe thunderstorm warnings in Manhattan, heading out toward Brooklyn and Queens, so watch out, some rough weather moving through, and still some potent storms even as far north as northwestern Connecticut and southwestern Massachusetts. The line continues. It's moved through Philadelphia now moving down into southern New Jersey. Watch out in Atlantic City. These storms will reach you in the next hour or two, and we're still seeing some rough weather also moving on now into the eastern shore, moving here across the bay near Annapolis, heading out into the Delmarva Peninsula. Still seeing some very warm air on the south end of this line. It's still 88 in Norfolk, but really dropping off now in New York City at 60 degrees with those showers moving in, and the dew point still very high, and that is the fuel for those thunderstorms. So we still have the threat of severe weather from the lower Hudson River Valley down into the area around Charlotte. Now, as we expand the weather picture out, this same front again has been the one that produced all the severe weather over the past couple of days. One place it did so was in the area of northeastern Iowa. Let's go to Dave now to get some impressive pictures of what that looked like.
That's right, Warren. They were in the bullseye for the last 2 or 3 days. We've been following a line of thunderstorms stretching from Texas to Wisconsin, including Iowa. Now, chasing those storms were photographers hoping to capture rare videotape of a tornado. Well, now, through the eyes of one of those photographers, we're going to show you Thursday's tornadoes in Iowa.
Large tornado, Bill, large tornado. It's humongous. It's right west of us. We got a great view of it. Look at it. Wow.
Whoa, people, hang on, hang on. Large debris.
Get away from these power lines. Turn off all the equipment.
I can't see anything anyway. Large destructive tornado directly off to our north. Oh my goodness, I don't even want to see what damage this thing caused.
I don't either.
Those people, poor people in the houses that were in the path of this thing back up the road are in serious trouble. I am not so convinced that we're not out of danger here.
I want to get closer to this.
That large tornado. Tornado's getting bigger. Look at that tornado go. Incredible. Incredible.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Hang tight, people, hang tight. Oh! Oh my goodness, those houses! Look out! Look out! Hang on! Hang on! Be ready to jump in the car. Oh my goodness, look at this thing. Listen to it. Oh my goodness.
Wow. Well, now we move to the southeast U.S. Florida has had little severe weather and little rain. So the state is considering a ban on 4th of July fireworks for fear they could start fires. There have been 2,500 wildfires in Florida since January, and parts of the state are about a third below their average annual rainfall. The governor's office is already issuing a television ad warning people to be safe with Memorial Day fireworks. Well, the weather's pretty quiet in Florida tonight, except up in the Panhandle, where there were reports of hail in Pensacola. Those thunderstorms have weakened and they're just about gone. Meanwhile, here in Iowa, where we saw that tornado video that was from Thursday, it is quiet. Light northwesterly breezes, clear skies except for the extreme northeast corner. Here in the southeast part of the United States, boy, was it a hot one today. Can we show those record highs today? Boy, it was scorching. Forget May the 3rd, that should say May 13th. High temperatures rose to 97 in Macon and Columbia, mid-90s east of the Appalachians, all the way up to Richmond, Virginia, and there were more record highs here too, including pressure. As we head north and west, it's pretty cool. But first, here's Warren.
Memorial Day is...
Considering how well it handles the elements under the road, it's no surprise that our most advanced 4x4 ever performs so well on the road. Jeep Grand Cherokee. A quadricoil suspension and advanced steering system give it an agile, responsive ride on any surface.
I always welcome a little rain into my garden, and of course sunshine. Hi, I'm Alan Smith, and I'll be bringing you tips from the pros you can use in your garden every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right here.
Homeowners, get rid of that frustrating tangle trimmer line once and for all with the latest trimming technology. Introducing Flexi Trim. Easy to install, Flexi Trim uses new thermoplastic urethane cutting elements that easily snap into place and can last up to 10 times longer than ordinary trimmer line. Efficiently cutting through thick grass and weeds with its large diameter, Flexi Trim fits virtually every gas trimmer. Available at retailers of lawn, garden, and power equipment everywhere.
This Mother's Day, spend some quality time with your mom and Canal Enseñe. Get the best in family programming throughout the week, like Padre Alberto on Telemundo Internacional, Mamitas on Rio de la Plata, great music videos on VH1, classic films on Cine Latino, fashion and entertainment news on CNN en Español, and tune Disney's weekend movies. Special programs for mom and her family all week long. Happy Mother's Day from Canal Enseñe. Treat your mom to Canal Enseñe. Call your local cable operator today.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Currently in your area, 68 degrees with light rain. Your forecast. Your extended forecast.
intensity and pervasiveness of severe thunderstorms is now weakening tonight. However, it is a rough night in parts of southern New England, New Jersey, and the New York City metropolitan area. Let's have a look at them. This is Storm Watch. A severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect until 10 o'clock tonight Eastern Time for the New York City metropolitan area. And with thunderstorms rumbling through now, the worst will be over momentarily. Thunderstorms have been heading eastward, especially in the warm air. Temperatures in the 80s from southeast New York into the 90s and even 100 degrees in North Carolina. And with afternoon heating and the approach of a cold front, it was just the perfect recipe for the production of severe weather. Here's what's coming into New York City right now. And it's no wonder a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for Brooklyn and Queens. And out a little further on the island, these storms should weaken as they head out the LIE past Nassau County. Also, we got some thunderstorms into western Mass and up into the hills of northwestern Connecticut. Some gusty winds, 35 to 40 miles per hour, perhaps. Some torrential rains. As you can see, even after the thunderstorms blow through, there's still several hours of rain before it finally ends, as it will shortly in Scranton, PA. But earlier there was a report of a tornado near Allentown, PA. Unconfirmed report of funnel clouds in North Jersey from this cell, which appears to be weakening, heading into Passaic County. A severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for you. Winds at Philadelphia International Airport gusted to 46 miles per hour. Air traffic has been certainly impacted here. There have been a lot of delays out at the airports. Here in Washington, D.C. at Andrews Air Force Base, southeast of town, a military, of course, Air Force Base. The wind there gusted to 115 miles per hour, right about 8:30 this evening. Undoubtedly, there was some damage on the east side of Washington, D.C. Those thunderstorms have weakened, but still in Dorchester County, Maryland, there was severe weather. That has just pushed through Dover and will be out over the Delaware Bay. And I'll tell you, once this cold front moves offshore, and it's just a matter of a couple of hours while you're asleep tonight, that transition will be made. We get into the drier air. Dew point temperatures ahead of the front in the 60s, all the way up into Jersey tonight, while in behind the front, the air is, in an absolute sense, drier. There's just less moisture here at low levels. 42 dew point temperature, less humidity in the air than there is here in Charlotte or Washington, D.C. or New York or even Boston for that matter, and it's dry all the way to the west coast. So let's just make it through tonight. The severe weather isolated in North Carolina and Virginia and up into New Jersey and the New York City metropolitan area in association with this front. That's where the action is. Even some rain falling, maybe even some thunder and lightning up around Montpelier, Vermont, but none of this is going to be severe, maybe a little bit of flooding. And in the southeast, reports of some hail earlier in western North Carolina and parts of the Pensacola metropolitan area. So there we have it. That's Storm Watch. Once this storm moves off the east coast, there's another one to deal with that's moving into California. There it is. That'll present some problems on Sunday. More in your forecast next.
At home, I'm a mom. At work, I'm part of the technology group at International Paper. One of our customers is a...
The forecast for your area. On Monday, we'll see a chance of thunderstorms. Look for mostly cloudy skies on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, expect a chance of thunderstorms.